UFC 269, one of the most stacked cards I've seen in a long, long time. We're going to talk about the prelims, which we don't normally do that much, but there's some fucking awesome fights here on the prelims. One of them, which I don't really know too much about, is Jordan Wright and Bruno Silva. They're both unranked. They're in the middleweight. But let's talk about our boy, Tai Tuivasa, a.k.a.
Bam Bam.
Shuivasa, a.k.a. Bam Bam, a.k.a. Western Sydney Eshe. I can say that because he says that about himself. He is going to take on the 11th ranked Augusto Sakai, I'm going to say, out of Brazil. Probably the biggest task Ty's been asked to take on. He's 15-3 is Augusto. He is coming off 2 L's, though, against Jairzinho Rosenstrike and Alistair Overeem.
Yeah, both in the top 10.
And Ty coming off 3 wins, most recently against Greg Hardy, Henry Hunsucker, and Stefan Struve before that.
Yeah.
Do you think he'd be worried about this guy? Some of his scalps include Marcin Tybura, Alex Arlovsky, Ivanov. He's beaten some big guys.
So Ty, of course, coming for that 3-win streak after having the loss against Junior Dos Santos, which was the big one, which unfortunately was here in Adelaide and we were there. So
it's also a pretty handy fighter to have.
Junior, like he stalled Ty's momentum definitely in that one. So it is another bit of it's not a Junior Dos Santos step up. So I think this is probably a good fight for Tua, and potentially push his name into that to get ranked essentially into that 15 and especially around that 10. I think this will be a good one. Heavyweights, not going the distance, probably done with inside 1 or 2 rounds, I'd say. And we'll see who's firing off the bigger bullets or bazookas in this one.
What do the bookies say, Monks? This might be kind of like following Australian cricket in that you're getting unders possibly for Ty, considering a lot of Australians will want to throw some money at him. What do the bookies reckon?
That's it. Yeah, so Ty is favourite at $1.85. Sakai is out at $1.95.
Don't like none of that.
No.
I would gamble on heavyweights.
In terms of method,
maybe first round knockouts, depending.
There you go. Method and round of victory. You've got Ty with the TKO first round at $4.50.
What's the odds of a shoey getting deleted at the end of the fight?
If he wins, definitely.
If he wins,
Yeah, and off camera if he loses, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
Does like to partay, as we did see after that Greg Hardy win. So definitely all of Western Sydney and most of Australia be rooting for Tai Tuivasa in the prelims. And then that leads us into some interesting fights in the prelims. Really. 2 ranked guys and 2 top 10 ranked fights. The first one being at Bantamweight between Dominic Cruz and Pedro Munoz.
Both really big names in the division as well.
Huge. It's a big fight for Cruz in particular. O'Malley wants some of him.
There's been a lot of chat about O'Malley calling him out, and though I think they are in slightly different weight divisions. No, that's Cody. I'll get back to that. So Cruz and O'Malley, of course, in the same division, and O'Malley still unranked, interesting enough, and Cruz there at 10. I don't think Dominic's had a huge layoff. He's had 3 fights in the last. Well, this I think is his 3rd fight in the last 2 years after his long break due to injuries.
He's had 2 fights.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. This will be his 3rd.
Third? Oh, this will be 3rd. All right,
gotcha. But Cruz has an elite record. He's been on the mic essentially for most of the UFC cards as well, doing that rounds. But Pedro Munoz is another really great fighter. In the bantamweight division, again, a hard one to tip. I like Cruz, and especially his battles with Uriah Faber back in the day, and his dominant run in the division and being the champion for a very long time before actually losing it to Cody, who's coming up on this card.
He's lost 2 fights. He's ranked 10 and he's lost 2 fights.
Yeah, so long layoffs and long breaks in between has probably been his downfall, and he's getting a bit older. But I really like Cruz, so we'll see how he goes.
Moving into the last prelim, we have Josh Emmett and Dan Ige This is 7 versus 9 in lightweight. Emmett is 16-2. He's coming off a 3-win streak. Ige, on the other hand, coming off the loss to the Korean Zombie, both very talented, possibly too talented for an undercard or a prelim. Do we like anyone here? I think pretty similar, hard to split.
Yeah, again, hard very closely match up in this one. I couldn't give it either way. I can't say, I really like the Korean Zombie. Ige losing, of course, to that really doesn't help his chances. So, yeah, not so sure.
We've got Tech Down. We're at the Gabba. There's no Schnicko. No Schnicko. Well, we know off the top of our heads the first one on the main card is Sugarshawn O'Malley. Yep. Obviously getting a main card probably out of his social media presence. He's a name. Like he's a big name. Everyone knows about him. A bloke that probably isn't a name so much is the guy that he's fighting in Julian Paiva. Is a Brazilian. Don't know too much about him. Sugarshawn, he says he's the unranked champ. He says he has no losses. His record would suggest one. I think he gets the job done here.
Yeah, he's definitely super talented. And like we were saying before, he's been calling out specifically Cruz and Cody in this. And Cody, we'll get to his fight in a minute, has actually gone down a division. So I'm not sure how that's all going to work out. But they have, had that chat. So whether that's O'Malley maybe looking past his opponent, he's really struggled to get a ranked opponent, which is interesting.
So him and Dana must have the hots for Sean O'Malley.
Well, they're definitely trying to build him up and trying to put him in that title picture and I don't want to say protect him as well, but also people I think are aware of his talent. And
sure.
Well, I don't want to say they're ducking him, but they're definitely like, well, I've got other matchups I want to focus on. And especially since he's unranked really doesn't help his case either. So
if he wins this, he has to be ranked possibly as high as 10. What would you think?
Yeah, well, put him in the 15 to start with. If he gets another win.
I think he's better than that. I think he deserves...
He's got at least put him in the ranking. If he gets another win, put him in the ranking.
He's got a ton of momentum behind him. He has to... he's going to keep on getting fights.
He needs that number against his name so he can then force these other blokes ahead of him to say, "Hey, well, I'm ranked now. Let's have that competition, that fight." So
massively talented. We'll see a lot more of Sean O'Malley. Does have to get the win here first. So keep that in mind. Going forward, we've got in the bantamweight. We did speak at length about Cody Garbrandt coming down. To take, sorry. He's come down from bantamweight to flyweight. Excuse me.
I was confirming. Yeah, he's come down. So he's gone from 135 to 125
to take on,
which is quite interesting.
Yeah,
he's taking on France in this one.
Kaikara.
He fights out of the same gym as all the other Dan Hooker and Izzy, etc. So
pretty talented gym.
Volk as well. Very talented gym over there. But Cody. It'd be interesting to see him coming down. That he's definitely a lot taller than France is in this one, but I think the talent wise is so different. I think France has been 2-2. I think he's been lost win in his last 4. So
correct.
And he takes on Cody, who's an absolute killer. He's got dynamite in his hands. So I don't know for this one. I don't like his chances. I think Cody's going to be a heavy favourite.
Cody's favourite, but not that heavy. $1.65 for Cody Garbrandt. Kaikara France at $2.18. Hard to split him, but Cody and his experience and coming down, you'd think.
Well, he's a top 5 fighter in the bantamweight division, and he's coming down to where's
that's it.
France ranked 6. So I guess he's ranked pretty high in the flyweight. So I guess that's fair comparison then of a guy that's about 5th coming down to 5 or 6. So yeah, I don't know.
A little bit's about Cody being able to cut to that weight as well.
Well, has to. Yeah, always plays a difference.
He'll look very trim, and they've got weigh-ins, of course, will be tomorrow our time. So by the time his body's out, they probably would have weighed in.
And had their presses today. A few words exchanged, nothing too remarkable there. You know what's a weird one, boys? The third from last fight here being in welterweights, Jeff Neal taking on, and forgive me if I fuck this one up, Santiago Ponzinibbio.
Who are they?
Yeah, both very low ranked welterweights. I think we've got there. What are they? 13 and 14 or something.
12. Neil's 12 and Ponzinibbio is 14. Yeah, I don't know too much about these guys. I imagine you guys are pretty similar.
Yeah,
it's
a couple of years ago, I'd say this is probably a prelim fight.
But that's an interesting point there that you make, Sean. Yeah. I think the UFC and Dana, in all of his wisdom, is starting to go, maybe we need to get a few big names on these prelims to get people in early, to get them out of their pre-drinks, to get them out of the hotel room and down into the arena and put on some really big fights in the prelim. We saw it at UFC 268 with some of the more fancy guys going off a little bit earlier, and then a little bit of a lesser known guys into the title fights. Well, I think it's very deliberate.
Yeah, and if you just look at boxing or the Canelo box, the pay-per-view, there was no one in. There was 4 fights on that card. There was barely anyone in the stadium for the first 3, and then it was packed for Canelo. So that visual, and if you're trying to, sell sponsorships, advertisement, etc., doing business as Dana likes to do, a full stadium for the entire pay-per-view looks very good, especially if you get guys in there for prelims. So having a couple names in the prelims, guys that are have big names or their rankings are in that 10 range, definitely draws in the crowd. So then you got your early guys to kick off the pay-per-view, so people are in their seats ready for it. Then you've got some filler in the middle there to get you ready for the climax that is the 2 title fights in this one. So, I can't really say too much.
Haven't really been too active over the last couple of years either. They've only had 1 or 2 fights between them.
Have you got what they're coming off, or any records or anything there?
Yeah, so for Jeff Neal, he is coming off a two losses.
Wonder Boy?
Yep, 1 to Wonder Boy, 1 to Neil.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense why there's cards on your pay-per-view.
Yeah.
It's a head scratcher.
And that's over the last 2 years, so he's only fought once.
Well, you got O'Malley, the big name. You got a pretty good fight there with Cody coming down to take on France, which is be high ranked for the flyweight division. Put a bit of filler in there. That's your drinks break. Go to the bathroom, and then you come back and you've got Nunes going to come out and murder the Penne in this one. So, yeah.
We'll get to that in just a second. You did mention about Ponzinibbio. He's on a pretty good run, isn't he?
Before you get to your next note. So, he's 1-1. He has been active this year. So he fought at the start of this year against Li Jingliang. He lost that one.
Qatar Holloway.
Yeah, that's it, and then he did win and get fight of the night against Miguel Bezia back in June on the Rosenstryker and Sakai fight.
So you do got to remember the other side of it. They got to build up future stars.
Yeah.
So Neil may potentially here been thrown to the wolves a little bit with a future star coming through. And hey, get him on here. Potentially he gets knocked out. And you've got another guy with lots of eyes on him being on the pay-per-view, and they're like, oh, he's interesting. He's coming into the welterweight.
Like when Masvidal was coming up, sort of out of nowhere, knocking blokes out left, right, and centre.
Yeah, you got to build up future stars because there is turnover in the sport.
Sure.
So,
and even before that, over the last couple of years, going back to 2015, he's got like fight of the nights and performance of the nights as well, here or there, scattered around. So, definitely, I guess, got that style of fight.
He's got some wing nuts on him.
Well, he's undefeated in the ears category. So
we may have to post this to our socials. Look, I may not say it to him face to face. This is coming from a guy that really had to grow into his own ears coming up as a youngster. I
think we all did.
But wing nuts and with a bit of cauliflower. He looks.
They're out there.
Look kind of scary. Argentinian.
He gets a few channels.
Don't see too many Argentinians in the UFC, so that'll be an interesting one, I suppose, between 2 not as well known names on this main card.
Yeah.
Speaking of well known names, Amanda Nunes, she's going to take on Juliana Pena. I think we all kind of see eye to eye here. you know, I'm doing.
Let's hope our insurance and health policies up to date.
Doing a pray for Pena, Amanda Nunes. I think she's the undisputed female GOAT. It does seem like a lamb going to the Wolves. Pena is 2-2 in her last 4. She's third ranked in this division. Nunes obviously just murders anyone that she goes up against. The counter argument, I suppose, and I was talking to you guys about it pre-show, was when Holly Holm fought Ronda Rousey. No one expected her to kick her in the face and knock her out and knock off, at the time, the best female fighter of all time. Sean, you quickly reminded me that Holly Holm was on a 9-win streak at that time.
She had a big boxing background, kickboxing background, and like a 9-fight win streak, made it 10, knocking out Ronda. So a little bit of a different situation than a Bird coming in at 2-2, and not really in the same conversation as what Nunes is, but Nunes has murdered everyone else in this division.
She's a GOAT. Cyborg doesn't compare. Rousey doesn't compare anymore.
Just felt Valentino. She's just going to go to the end of time.
That'd
just
be nice, but that's hard. But that's really hard on Shevchenko to try and come up and fight Nunes at that weight. But
they've done it before.
Yeah.
That's all. That's
it. Look, that's the only fight moving forward that makes sense. Yeah. Who knows? Stranger things have happened.
They should do that at least once a year. Let's put it that way.
You never know. Pena could catch her. The odds on this one are obviously far in the GOAT's favour in Amanda Nunes. She is $1.10. Juliana Pena at $6. You'd imagine this to go one way, wouldn't you, boys? Monks, anything to add?
No, nothing really to add to that. Pretty much said it all.
How do you make a goat sound? That sound like sheep, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
that's horrible.
Yeah, close enough.
Anyways, I'm sorry, Amanda. Don't bash me up. Into the co-main event.
We've talked about how killer this division is.
Yeah, two title fights in this UFC 269. Charles Oliveira takes on Dustin Poirier. A long awaited matchup here. Poirier has been doing everything in his power to get this fight. He's on a 9-win streak. He hasn't lost in 4 years. And in that time, there's been one fight. One that's gone the distance. That was the Tony Ferguson. So he's finished 8 guys in that 9-win streak. That is Oliveira.
You said Poirier.
Yeah,
I shit out of me. I was just like, I don't think that's right.
No, I did just realise. Dustin, on the other hand, he's 8 of his last 9. His only loss was to Khabib,
for the
which
title.
everyone in this division essentially has lost to.
Yep.
Pretty handy list of scalps there. Conor McGregor, Dan Hooker, Max Holloway, Eddie Alvarez, Justin Gaethje, Anthony Pettis. This is a scintillating matchup. Poirier has been doing everything right, but Oliveira is the champ for a reason.
Yep.
Does this get taken away from him on Saturday night, do you think?
Yeah, well, I've been backing Poirier for a long time, as you're probably well aware, lads.
Yep.
I still think he's, how would you say it? He's the veteran presence in the division, essentially. He's done it there. He's fought all the big names. He's beaten a lot of them as well. Khabib was Khabib and just took it to him. But he's the complete package, really. And Oliveira, had that really bad first round against Michael Chandon, as a lot of people do, with him throwing bombs at you. But got himself back into that fight and really showed some heart to win it. But I think Poirier might be just a step ahead of him currently in their careers. I really would like to see Oliveira kind of take that step, and this be an excellent, absolute war when the two of them kind of in their prime kind of compete in this. But for mine, I've got Dustin slightly ahead. And I think it's a long time coming that he'll finally be crowned as the champion of the lightweight division.
The bookies tend to agree with you. unusual to see the challenger at $1.56 going up against the champ in Oliveira at $2.33. If you're a betting man, I don't know about those odds, but definitely as a fight fan, you can appreciate the build up going into this lightweight championship. Monks, you got anything to add? Do you lean one way? I tend to agree with you, Sean, but I'm not sold. I don't want to pick one here. I'm sitting on the fence. I'm sitting on the fence. Fight.
It's a hard one. I think those odds sort of reflect the names that Dustin has fought recently, but not necessarily the form of those fighters. Like Conor is a great fighter, but arguably you wouldn't say that he was all that great against Dustin. Like,
no, Dustin, took it to him. The other point is Dustin dominated him twice. So
and also Conor broke, he went into that fight with a broken leg, and it kind of finished on a bit of a technicality. Yeah. So who knows what happens there?
That's it.
He won the first one convincingly. So.
Yes.
Well, and Dan Hooker, I'll back Dan Hooker every day of the week, but still, he's just not at that level yet. So.
But he also
it's
dominated
just so hard.
Dan Hooker. So
true. It's just
he showed my point being that veteran presence is like I am a step above you.
I get that.
Hey, you're a young kid. You still got shit to learn.
But then how does he go against Oliveira, who is
he is a champion? Well, but I think
that's just why it's just really hard for me to be able to pick one way or the other. It's just Dustin has dominated in his fights, but it's against a fading Conor and Dan Hooker, who's still got a lot to.
Oh well, the lightweight division's excellent though. So whoever wins this has probably got Gagey next. So and that's still going to be awesome.
Oh yeah,
he's looking red hot, isn't he? Absolute chin on him. But let's not get too ahead of ourselves. I mentioned the odds there. Excellent fight card. I've got to play
definitely
cricket on Sunday, but there definitely will.
You're going to miss the Ashes and UFC?
Well, the Ashes isn't going to day 5. I hope. But the radio will be on loud. That is for sure.